Evening, YouTube. Another good one for you. It would be in continuance of my birthday testimony. It would be my Snapchat testimony. And so, I met a good man named Gio and his family. I should keep him a little discreet. I won't say too much, but boy oh boy were they in a bind, and they didn't have time. And so, it was a project and eventually a shared vision. They wanted to open a daycare. So anybody in the town of Rockford, a little beacon of hope opening up hopefully soon. In a bad area, the only way is to provide belonging in God versus allowing people to turn to the wrong influences for guidance when they seek safety and security. It should be found in Jesus, and not like, going to war as he equips us for battle, but as in provide that belonging with God before they get influenced and end up in gangs. And so, anyway, they grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. You can't judge them for it, but at the same time, you want to enlighten and open their eyes. And so they had this King rally that I would later attend. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I'm going to go into it now. So I'm going to get into it later. So they contracted me for mudding, and so I brought all of my tools. And boy, oh boy, at each night, it was different, it was intense, and it was kind of scary because I feel like the devil was trying to chase me out of there. Between people being loud night after night outside, and for some reason they'd have me instilled with fear when there was homeless people around. But really, man, I felt compassion for them. I feel bad. I dabbled in it myself. So I felt led in different ways. Anyway, while I was there, I was pulled in every direction. I mean, from a whole day hanging drywall, doing framing, 5.5 hours off of doing drywall. I mean, it was just crazy. I'm not going to complain about it. They didn't have poor leadership. They just had a lot of stress in their situation. And so, they treated me really good. They took me out to eat countless times, and I would continue going over to Uncle Nick's. Man, I would suggest it. Very good food. And he told me that it was a sketchy side of town, but I walked there every day. It was not too bad. I talked to people. I was able to give my testimony to a few people. It was a good time. Anyway, a couple weeks earlier, let's see how I got to this position. And before my birthday. So a couple weeks earlier, I would lose my job due to blasphemy. I respect everybody around me. I love them, but everything I am is because of Jesus. So the way I love, the way I treat people, the way I'm genuine, it all is sourced to Jesus. When you insult him, you're insulting my whole life, because he is all that I am. He redeemed me. And so I would forgive my friend, right, as I was talking about in the last video, and she would help me find my current job. I start tomorrow, so I'm excited for it. And anyway, I got to get back to our situation. The first day, I would spend time covering every single hole on the wall. And then that night, I would go out to eat to this fancy restaurant and took a bunch of pictures for Snapchat, and it would lead me to getting this call from my new boss, and he would send me these documents that I couldn't print out, and on to the next day. There was a cot in the building, so I had somewhere warm to sleep. I'm thankful because they provided me breakfast every day. God took care of me. He had it handled. And I was busting my butt for him because I wanted to see their vision come to life. Because when people seek belonging in all the wrong directions and in the wrong areas, I know how he filled me. Those vices and idols, they don't have nothing on God. So, getting back to the taping. So the next day I did taping, and I ended up getting pulled off of it. But my combined time was about a day and a half. Like I said, I did all this drywall, and so I didn't do too much each day while I was there, but each day was split up significantly because I would be haunted at night. And I would hear and fight spiritual battles every night I was there. And it was kind of not terrifying. I was confident, and I stayed resilient in heart, but it would test me. The devil attacked me at night, every night. And that being said, I worked. I got there on Sunday and I left on Sunday. And so I went to church, and then I went there and I did a labor of love. Lots of labors of love. I don't usually do that at all. But, I requested not to be paid for it. And so, that being said, a couple days pass. Let's see. Oh, yes. I ended up one night seeing this homeless fellow sleeping out on the concrete. And it just reminded me of last week. And so I went ahead, and last week at that time, and I went ahead and I gave him a pillow and my coat, the heaviest coat I had. And it would rain that night. And he slept in front of the patio door. And I wished I could have let him in, but I couldn't because I was ordered not to. But I gave him what I could. I felt bad for him. But I would continue on, and on Sunday, this is the really big day, I would go to church, and I would look all over to find a church, and it was a Presbyterian church, and so they read scripture in order. But man, there's a couple things I could say about this church. I talked to so many people. I gave so many parts of my testimony. The people were friendly and loved God, and God moved in his own way. Man, there was so much prayer in that church, and it improved my spiritual discipline of prayer because I attended that service. And so it was really cool. I wish their traditions, very sacred, to be taken seriously, and I couldn't uphold the integrity of my environment. But nonetheless, it would be about the judge and the widow, and there was special worship. They said they only come in like 2 times a year, and so that was a really cool opportunity. Anyway, upon getting there, I would talk to so many people and share parts of my testimony. I didn't really tell many people my name, but some of them. I opened to a devotional, and it was in 2 Kings 5. I didn't mention that there was poor leadership, but they could have done things better. And if they would have just listened, as I had knowledge in my field, I knew how to use my time to the best of my ability. And if we could have all just worked together versus letting pride veil over our minds, we could have gotten something done. And so, there was a lot of arguing while I was there. But 2 Kings 5, when I opened up to it, it would do my whole soul justice because I was wounded. You know what? Trauma doesn't break you, it wounds you. And I might have just met these people, but I was kind of wounded because they didn't really trust my ability. I had done drywall work for Tim for years. I had done a few different houses, and I spent a lot of time there. And, I ended up getting hired over for the second coat. But I didn't ask for any money for it. I shared vision, and I could have definitely have used it, but it's okay. I knew that it was for a purpose, and I could put my hands to purpose. So I would, on my way to that church, speak to so many homeless people who would give me directions, and meet Nick and Ben and I forgot the Mexican guy. I want to say Felipe, but no. And man, good people. I just wish that I could have spent more time with them. When I came back, they weren't there. While I was at this service, though, I had the opportunity to be a part of a walk for hunger. They said they had a bunch of churches meeting up, and one of them was Trinity. And so I went to that walk. I prayed with them. I even had the opportunity to talk to probably 30 people. And I talked about the whale and his pelvis bone and just everything I'd learned up to that point. A different, unique conversation for each and every person. And it was all about God. All the time. All about God. All the time. And you know what? I'm just so thankful that I was able to. You know, if I would have had a full-time job, which I was working almost 12 hours a day, that's why this was a really big, significant day. This was the day I was leaving. And I took pictures of all the significant scenery around there, and I talked to a few people walking down the road. I even felt threatened a couple of times, but not really. God had me. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not on thine own understanding. Acknowledge him in all thy ways, and he will guide thy path. And it didn't matter what I did. God just anointed that journey, and I was able to live in the Spirit, and I was thankful. So I talked to many within the church, and one of them turned out to be a science teacher with like 5 kids, and boy, oh boy, I could have put more effort into it, but I had been giving all my effort in every conversation leading up to that point. So it was just one of those where it would have been important to change that man's perspective. God trusted me with that, and I would fail him. But it wasn't about that failure. It's about growing. We might not be able to do it once in a while, but what God can do through that tribulation or what you endure, that temptation, is greater. He grew me into something that I never thought I would be able to do, from an introvert as a kid to who I am now, making YouTube videos. I didn't even take speech class. Anyway, yeah, that's mostly it. Thank you for tuning in.